You're in the rant wormhole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get a rant by becoming one of those people. This one is for Toomsbury Crunch, who says, please rant about Anime News Network. Oh man, Anime News Network has been around forever, and it has been an incredibly valuable resource to me over time. Like, the encyclopedia on ANN is fantastic. It's one of the most full. NEDB these days, I think, is even better as a database, but it's less easily navigatable. I love that I can just type in, like, the name of a show and Anime News Network and then instantly have a staff list and stuff. Some are more complete than others, but it was integral to a ton of the knowledge I have. A lot of the research I've done on anime has been through ANN. A lot of videos I've made have only been possible because of ANN, because of extensive use of their database. That's how I got into creators, basically. It's how I found out that there are staff members with names who I could trace the careers of and find out, like, what all they've done and get deeper involved in the medium in that way. And some of their features have been influential to me as well. Back when Justin Savakis used to do Buried Treasure and Buried Garbage, like, that was a really fun read. I watched a lot of 80s OVAs and shit that I never would have heard of or seen if not for that. Most importantly, Garzy's Wing, his little 3-minute clip that he had put together of, like, his highlight reel of Garzy's Wing, I watched probably hundreds of times, definitely memorized. It eventually got me to buy the DVD and watch all of it, and Garzy's Wing is one of my favorite anime. Particularly the first episode, which I could probably recite the first half of the first episode, or like up to the first 15 minutes. So, which might be the first half actually, because I think it's a 30-minute episode. In any case, so I've gotten a lot out of certain articles and stuff on there. Now, on the other side of the coin, I've also always had a problem with ANN because there's a team of different people who write on there, and they've always had kind of a pretentious air about them. The way that the critics tend to write on there is like, it's like there are certain authors who write about shows that aren't to their tastes as if those shows shouldn't exist. Particularly back when it would come to, like, moe and lolly stuff. I remember being, like, routinely pissed off that they would be so out of pocket dismissive of shows in that genre, or, like, if you're going to have a team of reviewers who are tackling different shows, you would think that you would have each of them have, like, a clear identity of what they're about. Like, what is this guy into? What is his take on things? And then maybe have either multiples of them cover each show, or have the guy who's into the type of show you're talking about talk about it. Because, like, routinely the moe stuff would just basically get dismissed because there were no writers on the site who were into that. And there was a time that I tried to submit myself as a writer. I've told this story before, and Zach, the leader of ANN, has even apologized to me from the last time I told this story about the abrasiveness of his response, because, I mean, I was like 17 and a terrible writer, but, like, I tried to submit a review of Chubra, like the first 6 episodes or something, because I was basically telling him, like, hey, you don't have anybody who's into moe shit, like, you need a writer like that so that every time you cover one of them, you're not getting screamed at, because every time they would cover one of those shows, a certain sect of fans who likes that stuff would be like, this is insulting the way that you're covering it, and like, there's people who legitimately think these shows are good and have real reasons for that. So, and he kind of blew my review the fuck out. Basically was like, do you even read Anime News Network reviews? Like, this is not stylistically appropriate or whatever. So, yeah, but I complained about that on some video, and he got to me on Twitter and was like, hey man, sorry if I came off as a dick. And I was like, that's cool, dude. I mean, I know my review was bad. Like, I was a fucking kid, like, but, over time, like, I often disagree with the politics of the website. I, don't agree with all the writers, but it is what it is. It's kind of weird because ANN is such an amalgam of basically, like, several different websites. You've got the encyclopedia, which is you could stand on its own and just be a world unto itself. Then you've got the news feed, and ANN news feed can be pretty helpful because it is pretty constant and they report on basically fucking everything. But it's also overwhelming and it's too much noise, to like for the amount of signal that cuts through. Like there's been times where back when I was using back when I used to use a lot of read RSS readers. Like I used to have a Google Reader, and then I would use the old reader for a while. I don't even bother anymore because everything's on social media now. But like, I had the RSS feed of ANN plugged in, and like I would just skip 99% of the articles because they're not relevant to me. But every once in a while, something would come along, and I'd be like, oh shit, I'm glad I know this. But anything that is important to me at this point, someone's going to share it with me anyway. So I don't really need to be abreast of the news on ANN. But then there's the editorial department, and that is where I think most of people who dislike ANN, it's because of the editorial department, because of the fact that there is sort of a unified voice. There's definitely a type of writer who tends to end up there. It's a lot of like older people, usually some kind of social justice-y thing nowadays, people with a background in magazines who are maybe have older tastes or more, are more jaded towards modern anime, and so you kind of find yourself wondering why are you even writing about modern anime. But I mean, this is a very broad characterization. I don't want to. I obviously don't read the site anymore, so if it's changed, if they've hired on writers who are more interested in the modern stuff or younger or more broad political slant or anything like that, I don't know. I wouldn't know. So like I don't want to talk too much shit about a website that I haven't been reading, but like they get into a lot of controversy. A lot of the writers on there get into a lot of trouble on Twitter. They're the ones who kind of incited this current Vic Mignogna scandal, which everybody knows my stance on it. I'm more or less on the side of ANN if I had to pick a side, but like I also don't necessarily think their article was that great. I don't think that I don't think that it was a well done attack piece considering what they tried to use as evidence. I think that maybe going in and interviewing people who had interacted with Vic would have been a better way of going about it than like this weird presentation of elements that they did. I don't know. So yeah, I think that when they do get in trouble, they probably deserve it. And Mike Toole, fuck Mike Toole. I think he works for ANN. Fuck that guy. Yeah, so there you go. Justin Savakis is cool, somewhat. Mike Toole, fuck that guy.